Wednesday, July 13, 2022. JUTC says its fuel budget will be depleted by September due to high fuel prices. 2 dead and 2 injured after gunmen opened a fire on a taxi off Red Hills Road. Correctional officer accused of smuggling contraband into Horizon Adult Remand Center to stand a trial. Search is still on for Kingston Wharves employee who fell from a ship last night. In business news, gas prices to decline by a further 25 cents tomorrow. The Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC, today revealed that it has suffered a major hit from high fuel prices and will have to return to the Ministry of Transport by September for additional budgetary support. 4 months into the 2022-23 fiscal year, the JUTC says despite the reduced rollout of buses, its fuel bill has skyrocketed. The matter came up today when executives of the state-run entity appeared before Parliament's Public Administration and Appropriations Committee. JUTC Managing Director Paul Abrahams told the committee that the fuel budget will be depleted in 2 months. He says the company is in the process of contacted the Transport Ministry to inform it of the challenge in paying for fuel for the rest of the financial year. And the JUTC says because it has fewer buses operating, it should be able to stay within the $194 million budget for toll payments. Toll rates for Highway 2000 east to west were increased on Saturday. Mr. Abraham says based on the price increase, the JUTC is now paying an additional $600,000 weekly to access the highway. Investigators probing this morning's deadly shooting of passengers traveling in a taxi on Hillary Avenue in St. Andrew theorized that a male passenger may have been the target of the attack. The passenger, who has been identified as Rowan Tuller, and the taxi driver Lloyd Clark were killed in the shooting, which happened shortly after 8 o'clock. A woman and her 2-year-old child were also shot and have been hospitalized. A senior commander told Radio Jamaica News that Mr. Tuller, a resident of Park Lane off Red Hills Road in St. Andrew, was well known to the police. He was reportedly detained on Saturday in connection with a gun-related incident on Park Lane, but was released after being questioned. It's reported that the taxi was in a line of traffic on Hillary Avenue off Red Hills Road when men drove up in a car. 2 armed men alighted and opened fire on the taxi. Mr. Tull and Mr. Clark, along with the woman and her child, were shot. They were taken to hospital where the men were pronounced dead. The child was shot in the leg and the mother in the shoulder. At news time, response teams are still searching for an employee of Kingston Wharves who fell off a ship at berth 8 last night. The employee fell into the sea and has not been seen since the incident happened about 10:05. A statement from Kingston Wharves says rescue protocols were immediately activated. The Coast Guard and Marine Police were contacted to provide search and rescue operations, along with private personnel engaged by Kingston Wharves. A correctional officer accused of smuggling contraband into the Horizon Adult Remand Center last year is to stand a trial December 1. Denzel Wint had his bail extended yesterday when he appeared in the Kingston and the St. Andrew Parish Court. Mr. Wint is charged with introducing contraband into a penal institution and allegedly ran into a bathroom and threw an object through a window. The object reportedly contained ganja. Mr. Wint was handed over to the Kingston West Police. The Ministry of Health is gathering data on the new highly transmissible COVID-19 strain that has now spread to over 10 countries. BA.2.75, which was first detected in India, has spread to other countries including the UK, US, Australia, Germany, and Canada. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says Jamaicans will be advised of the possible effects the strain could have on the population.
There's a new strain that is being talked about that we are monitoring, and that strain is we are to give some further details on it. I know the clinical team led by the chief medical officer is gathering the information, and we will do what we would normally do, keep the country informed. I think we have learned a lot over the last 2 years, and as a consequence, the country can be reassured that we will provide the appropriate guidance as necessary when the time comes.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton. Now, Dr. Tufton was speaking on TVJ's Small Jamaica program this morning. The World Health Organization is closely monitoring the new variant, although its chief scientist said there were not yet samples to assess the severity. In the meantime, Dr. Tufton says while the country is still recording high positivity rates from the BA.5 strain, hospitalizations are not overwhelming. He says the number of deaths is lower compared to previous outbreaks of COVID-19.
We still have high levels of positivity. I think over the last 7 days, it would be between 15 and 20%. That's fairly high. The good thing is that we're not seeing the hospitalizations. We're not seeing the number of deaths. Every death is regrettable, of course. And so this strain that is out there is not as dangerous or lethal.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton. And Jamaica's COVID-19 positivity rate is now 21.5%. 75 new cases of the virus were detected from 371 samples. The virus also claimed 3 additional lives. The death toll now stands at 3,161. The minister says the fatalities occurred in January, and this month, 92 people are in hospital with the virus, 13 in critical condition. 2 members of the private sector are in support of more companies adopting paternity leave arrangements following yesterday's announcement by the government that this would be implemented in the public sector. However, President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, David Wan, and President of the Micro, Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise Alliance, Donovan Wignall, are anxious about the details of the arrangement, which are yet to be divulged. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark yesterday announced that paternity leave will be implemented in the public sector as part of the compensation restructuring exercise. Speaking today on the morning agenda on Power 106, Mr. Wan said the government was leading by example.
I think what has been done is a template has been set by the government, which private sector can now look to that template to say, listen, is this something we would like to adopt, and is there something we want to take from it and do our own? So it's really going to be up to the private sector companies to decide if they want to follow suit in this benefit, which I think in general is a good benefit. I think implementation is going to be the most critical part, which the minister says details yet to come.
President of the Jamaica Employers Federation, David Wan, National Commercial Bank and telecommunications company Flow are among the few private sector companies which have paternity leave policies. In the meantime, Mr. Wignall is concerned that if paternity leave and extended maternity paid leave are adopted by micro, small and medium-sized businesses, it would be costly. He has recommended staggering the leave arrangements.
Even more expensive when you have a couple, wife and husband or boyfriend and girlfriend within your employer, where that couple gets pregnant and has a child, and both employees have to go off and you have to pay both of them and find someone to pay for their replacement. So it becomes a very expensive venture for the private sector. I think the leave provisions now are adequate, and while we can work out some additional details, we could have a situation where you have alternating, where the wife goes off and comes back to work, the husband then goes off, or have it staggered. I think this debate came up already, and the suggestion was that you stagger it.
Mr. Wignall added that he would not support mandatory 3 months paid maternity leave in the private sector. He is anticipating resistance from some of its members.
While it's a good benefit, you have to look at who is going to pay for that benefit. If there's going to come some assistance from the government as far as tax breaks for this kind of benefit given to employees, I have no issue with it.
President of the Micro, Small and Medium-Sized Enterprise Alliance, Donovan Wignall. The families of those killed in a mass shooting at Robb Elementary School have expressed anger and outrage after a video was leaked showing the attack. The 82 minutes of CCTV footage from Uvalde, Texas, was published by a local newspaper and shows the gunman's arrival and police waiting 77 minutes to confront him. The video was published days before officials said they had planned to show the families or release it publicly. The leak of the footage and what it shows reignited public anger. A spate of wildfires is scorching parts of Europe, with firefighters battling blazes in Portugal, Spain, and southern France, amid an unusual heat wave that authorities are linking to climate change. In Portugal, multiple fires have caused the evacuation of more than 600 people. The European heatwave is also sparking flames in Spain and France and in Turkey at the other end of the Mediterranean. European Union officials issued a warning last week that climate change is behind the extremely dry and hot summer so far on the continent and urged local authorities to brace for wildfires.